Hey, all right. So what's up? Back again in black again. Another episode of Moment of Truth. All right, with me here. And this week's Moment of Truth is we're gonna address the pleasure trap. And part of that pleasure trap thing is there's a motivational triad. You get the most amount of reward for the least amount of effort, and you avoid pain, right? In this, I'm going to talk about the context of something that used to control me back in the day, and that was sexual activity. Um, yeah, it's we're getting candid here on this one. So the reality of it is that, as we all know, it's designed to be a pleasurable experience, so that way we can procreate and bond with people and whatever have you. The problem is that dopamine release that I used to get from worrying about whether I'm going to have it or not, that was part of my insecurity, that took over me. And therefore it used to govern my decision-making process. And I would end up in scenarios where it wasn't necessarily good for me and or the other parties involved. So um yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. Um the thing about seeking pleasure, and for me with particularly the sexual activity experiences I had back in the day, um it was something that I used to wear as a badge of honor, where I would be like, okay, I did this, all right, so now I get respect. It really didn't work out that way, because at the end of the day, from that perspective, it's not about you, it's about other things. And so I wanted to have as much as I could. And even is seeking that, it allowed it allowed people to have control over me. It allowed certain females to have control over me. And being that this is the moment of truth thing, I'm just being open and transparent about it. I've made some decisions in my life that were not really conducive to my overall well-being. I actually had a person who I was seeing for an extended period of time actually use sex and religion to control me, to like navigate what I did. And I would walk on eggshells of her insecurities. And being that I was doing that, I didn't really go out and do what I wanted to do to find my own fulfillment and to find my own happiness. Therefore, the thing that I was finding to and hoping to keep me, satisfied with pleasure, was not doing that. It was actually to my detriment. And so that's why the whole thing is called the pleasure trap. It keeps you locked in. And when it keeps you locked in, you can't really go anywhere. So being that this particular female was controlling me, withholding sex, and using religion to control my actions and guilt me into doing things, after a while, I ended up rebelling. And I was like, I'm done with this. I'm out, you know. And then I had to go out there and live my life and explore and see, how things were. And even then, there was a lot that I experienced where I was still not making the best decisions, because I was concerned about when the next time I'm going to get my dopamine fix through sexual activity. And by doing that, I was held prisoner not by another person per se. I was held prisoner by myself. And therein lies the term the pleasure trap, because your pleasures can also trap you, right? So, oh man, I ended up at some point joining. This is years later. I've made a lot of other decisions trying to rebound and whatever else. And I made a decision to try to fight my way out of it. So I joined this program a while back called Codependence Anonymous. I was in it for a short time, but I fast tracked my work like hell. And then I found a place to where it no longer controls me, right? And it's a healthy dynamic that I have with with that type of activity. and it's great. It's just like, it's cool to be in a place where this pleasure does not hold dominion over you, that you don't do everything possible to go after it. Now, the thing about sexual activity, it's a theory that I have. If you're constantly struggling and trying to survive, you're going to try to hold on to something that gives you pleasure in a moment. And that pleasure is a thing that helps you escape your suffering, versus digging into the suffering and finding your way out of it, utilizing the resistance to make you stronger. Now, that's difficult for a lot of people, especially people who are in like really crazy circumstances. They just need a break of some sort. What I learned is if you can just hold on and create the endurance to make it through, then eventually you'll find your breakthrough. Nothing is permanent. The only thing that is permanent is impermanent. I got that from Thor, but you get the idea. The things that's constant is change. That's going to happen. And one of the tips I have for building that resilience and building that endurance is to do something slightly uncomfortable every day. Find something that you don't want to do and do that every day. The changes happen in the micro, not the macro. Because when you start changing things in the smallest amount of ways and you do it consistently over time, it builds up like compound interest, right? So you're building your resistance and your resilience and your endurance to the struggles that you have in front of you. And eventually you'll find your way out of it. You climb that mountain one step at a time. Whether it is on top of another to get there. Another thing that I did to combat my that particular pleasure trap for me was question myself. Why do I feel like I need this? Why do I need this? Do I really need this? And I found that the answer is no. More often than not, the things that you're seeking pleasure in, you don't necessarily need it. There's this false thing inside that's giving you this narrative saying that you need something where you don't. You don't need anything but to feel that pure joy and that love in your heart for yourself. That's something that you need, because that's the stuff that's going to set you free from the pleasure trap. Another thing that I did was find and discover new interests, discover things, put yourself in scenarios that's going to allow you to challenge yourself, go hike a mountain or something, go sign up for a race of some sort, do something you've never done before and find out more things about yourself. Spend time alone. I've said this before, spend time by yourself and become a student of yourself. And when you do that, you'll find out there's more within you than you actually realize, right? You have a lot more power within you than you can actually even begin to imagine. And I'm saying that because I've done this. I'm proud of where I stand as far as like sexual activity is concerned. It's not a thing that I have to have. It's a thing that I do enjoy having. And it's, I'm sure most people do, but it's like, it's one of those things that it's not the end all be all for me. It's not like I'm waiting every waking second trying to figure out how to get laid. It doesn't work that way for me anymore. And I'm very proud of that. I know people, I know people who say they got to do that. And that's, that's the thing. Now, in relationships, of course, that's an important aspect of it, but it should not be the everything, because if that's the everything of your relationship, that relationship is going to sink ASAP. I know it because I had a relationship based on that and I lived a lie for a long time, right? I lived a lie for a long time and I was not necessarily living to my greatest potential. And I was not living my best. I was not living to be my best self. I got some things from it, both people got things from it. But at the end of the day, it was more like just that. And there was no other substance. And now I'm in a marriage that's fulfilling on several different levels, and that's great. So yeah, those are a few things that you can do to combat, not just in the context of sexual activity, but in all things. Challenge yourself, do something difficult every day and question yourself. Do that. All right. Challenge, do and question. We'll break it down. Do something and question. do that on a regular basis, and those things trap you, those pleasure trap you and confine you into a box, they'll start to go away. So, but I just wanted to get that one out there. Feel free to drop a comment, DM me, whatever it is. Want to have a further dialogue about it? I'm all game for that. And I'll see you next time. Moment of Truth again. All right. And enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.